Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Feldenkrais Awareness Summit. We're looking at the theme today of emotional intelligence. And I feel very lucky to have the opportunity to be interviewing a dear colleague, actually. Odette Guimond and I met many years ago when we were both learning something called the emotional body, or the ALBA emoting technique, as it was called at the time. And we both have continued to explore the relationship of how we can develop greater emotional intelligence while exploring it through somatic process like the Feldenkrais method. But Odette has taken her work, continued to take her work through the theater, and she's a noted theater director in Montreal, Canada. She's the founder of Autopoiesis, which is a Feldenkrais art school, or the Art of Feldenkrais School, you could call it. And I know I'm going to distort some of these names, the founding director of the Reverbere Theater. And you see, I've already done it. But see, this way, Odette, you don't have to feel nervous about your speaking of the English language. And she's also done presentations internationally for UNESCO and is a very noted practitioner in the city of Montreal. So I feel very honored to be speaking with Odette about this very important subject. Odette, welcome to the Feldenkrais Awareness Summit.
Thank you. I'm very, very happy to be here with you, Lavinia.
Great. So, of course, people are always really interested in what we call origin stories, how it all began. Which came first, the theater or Feldenkrais?
The theater. Yes. I decided to become an actor. I was 10 years old. So it was that saved my life. But the Feldenkrais, I was 29. So it was the other step.
Mm-hmm. And what was it about the Feldenkrais method that kind of drew you as an actor into that kind of study?
Oh, you will see. I will tell this story in my presentation after that. But it was my first Feldenkrais teacher was Guimond, and since that it has changed my life. And I've tried just knowing the Feldenkrais method. I did many researches with somatic educators and Guimond and other people, and to relate what I was learning in Feldenkrais with what I was doing in theater. So it came from there.
Uh-huh.
And it's a long story because it's more than 30 years ago now.
Right. We all have such long stories. And I actually have really fond memories of training with Yvonne, where I was still a new practitioner, and I remember he was working with someone who just had a missing aspect in their self-image, and when she stood up, she was like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize my arm could do that." And I remember Yvonne going, "Nice to meet you."
Yes.
that feeling of that Feldenkrais method gives us the opportunity to know myself, and how that ability to know myself can help an actor really become much more potent. Well, so maybe we want to go into your presentation so that I don't keep on asking you questions that maybe are going to be answered with that. Should we give it a try?
Yes. So for the first one, and if you don't understand, you ask questions, or maybe I will send you on paper the translation in real English.
No, your English is fine.
Thank you, Lavinia. So, hi everybody. I want to share with you some of my experiences and ideas. In the first part, we will reflect on emotion as an interaction and communication unit. This is based on a dialogue linguistic model and on autopoietics theory. At the beginning, I will evoke a bit of my history and interests about emotional intelligence. In the second part, we will reflect on emotion and intention into action. We will ask ourselves what it is to listen to someone else and how we may learn to go beyond cross-motivation. Working on my doctoral thesis on theatre aesthetics, L'acteur et le corps apparent, 1987, and as a professional actor and director doing researches in my theatre company, I was amazed to discover how much movement and actors were considered from a totally external point of view. Thanks to my Feldenkrais teacher at that time, who was Guimond, I discovered Maturana and Varela's concept of autopoiesis and finally found the basis to develop something else, both in my practice and my thinking. This was for me an illumination, in resonance with my own intuitions. Poetry and to literature, and no more to linguistics or computer models, those biologists, Maturana and Varela, invented the word auto, self, poiesis, creation, to give a new definition of life to the 70s. An autopoietic unit, me and you, but also our communities, appears as a closed system which can reproduce and sustain itself, recreating a same organization through a constant transformation of its components. After my Feldenkrais professional training in New York, 1991, I founded Autopoiesis École d'Art Feldenkrais in 1995 to continue my researches and give advanced trainings, especially to actors. It makes sense to me to remember that theater appeared in times when human consciousness was emerging, linked to spiritual, philosophical, and sociopolitical needs, we would say now as an ecosomatics needed art form. Nowadays theater, if not depraved by the cultural industry, stays connected to its origins and continues to reflect on human choices through human actions. Theater is effective and playing an important role in our societies because it is using both language and movement as a unit, thinking and acting as a unit, and doing so with emotions. As a Feldenkrais practitioner, I would say that theater uses a kind of awareness through movement on stage to touch the audience, pointing to a better functional integration of each individual of the community. Theater is devoted to the self-regulation of human consciousness. It is the experience I have on stage, or when I am directing or teaching theater. And it is the same when I give Feldenkrais lessons. Different ways to do the same thing and give sense to my life. Remembering that life is movement, as Moshe said, and the universal criteria of quality in all the arts, body, mind, emotions may appear as crucial in our somatic functional interactions within the world. Something similar to an universal mother tongue used by the sophisticated mammals we are as humans. Each time I engage in a dialogue, a functional integration lesson, I imagine how many people I'm talking to through touch and voice. The same is happening when I direct an awareness through movement lesson using voice and words. But what is a dialogue about? Enunciation. Referring to linguistics concept of enunciation,
I, you, him, her, it. Each of us is a person in three pronouns. Regarding linguistics, I is the first person, the speaker, the sender of a message. You is the second person, the listener, the receiver, the person being addressed to. The third person, him, her, it, the object of the communication, is absent of the situation. So, if it is about me, I am not there. But how did I learn to dialogue with you? I have to come back to my origins. I, subject, interact with you, my mother, other relationships, in movements of fusion and diffusion that could be a lot confusing. From my inner perspective, this interaction is a bodily communication about me and the world, my basic body needs, and then the stories I build about you, myself, us, and the world. The pronoun you creates a big confusion part in that linguistic model in three pronouns we take for granted. And the confusion does not come from linguistics, but from our biological experience. Who is this you? If not the mirroring of myself through my mirror neurons. I need you to continue to grow as an autopoietic system. Remembering unconsciously I was within you, my mother, before birth, and dependent on you a long time after, before becoming myself. The linguistic triangle modality is based on our biological knowledge and our emotional needs to go towards and against you to build me, my ego, my body ego needs and story. I think this is the basis of any dialogue, the active part in the experience of a closed autopoietic system. Emotions and self-images. A first approximation of our self-image could switch between a self-centered image felt as subjective, I am, alone, or half subjective and objective, mirroring my fusion with you, you tell me who I am. It may present itself as objective from an external point of view that is mine. This is me. In this case, my ego is growing. I may feel omnipotent staying there all of my life. And obviously, I have difficulties to stay in place if a switch centers all the time. I need a lot of guidance and security. Reversing the triangle, my body, myself, and body needs becomes differentiated from me, my mind, and ego stories. It is likely as does the brain in our vision and as the public does in the space, the theater space. Theatron in Greek language means the place from where we see, the space where the audience is seated. But if I forget to stay aware, I could get trapped in a body-mind split and in duality. I probably need to learn how to reconnect with my origins, remembering I am a human soma. The human soma is characterized by this wonderful unstable equilibrium, three reverse triangles in the field of gravity, and circular movements spiraling around a vertical axis. Consciousness and mobility on 2 feet is the manifestation of our potent self. Some kind of a magic power. We are built so we can go forwards and then return around ourselves with fluidity at any moment. A 3D experience from within, if we pay attention. Emotion, interaction, communication. The autopoiesis concept of life opens a new paradigm to distinguish ourselves from robots. Our knowledge is biologic. It is not an addition of disembodied concept. It happens through our senses, our feelings, our actions, interactions, and bodily experiences. This autopoietic concept of life explains how come human beings need to represent their intimate and unique knowledge through different languages and media. We call those experiments communication, based on the same need to touch someone else in some kind of fusion and to feel less alone, sometimes leading to so much misunderstandings between closed systems. This phenomena is related also to the origins of theater, because if communication and interaction are disconnected, we come back to the mind-body split. On the other hand, if we consider the body as a soma, the body perceived from within as defined by Thomas Hanna, if we remember that the body as a living unit, what are the emotions about? Based on the reversed triangle used previously, it is now possible to draw 3 circles for a moment around the eye soma basic part of the triangle to better understand how come emotions have so many functions and manifestations in our closed automatic systems and in the same time maintain so many connections between us. Remember, the first dialogue we established after birth was through emotions. In other words, through movement, including facial expression and a voice closely connected to the breath. And as a soma, my breathing appears also as the central pathway to stay connected with my intuitions during all of my lifetime. The dialogue established from birth have built literally me, in other words, my ego needs and ego stories, through different languages using words and images. Maybe also other systems, including arts and crafts and informatics. But they have also built myself, in other words, my body needs, a dynamic process of fusion and diffusion with my mother and then with my other relationships through touch and manifestations and bodily expressions, including the living arts like theater, but perhaps also many diseases. My soma, in other words, my body-mind, the sense I have of myself from within, continues to grow and maintain its integrity as long as possible through these dialogues. And emotions figure as at the basis of our somatic connection between inside and outside of ourselves, similar to the organic function of our skin to protect the integrity of our closed ecosystem, but also to maintain contact with the outer ecosystem, our environment. In other words, interaction and communication with my relationships are building and remodeling gradually and intimately my self-image. Coming back to the self-centered model, please consider the fact that being seated on a chair reflects a similar triangle created by our rocking bones, a kind of rocking chair inside our pelvis, keeping upright the vertical axis of our spine on our pelvic floor, the same way our feet are connected to the floor when we stand up. Just look a moment to the similarity between both triangles. The design of our bones is not linear and static as an abstract drawing. The bony structure of our ischiopubic rod is curved and dynamic, and if self-centered, our experience of verticality in 3 dimensions can give us in fact the same experience of spiraling on our pelvic floor as it could be on both feet if we stand up. maybe close your eyes a moment and feel the way you are seated on your chair in front of your computer. Take the time to roll yourself gently on your skates bones, as would say assistant trainer Daniela Picard, sliding gently your weight on your pelvic floor from your ischions to your pubic bone, using both of your buttocks and hip joints so as to begin to stand up. Those magic joints are at about 2 inches on both sides of your pubic bone, near the line of your slip, maybe. Maybe place your hands palms up along your slip, near your pubic bone. The tips of your fingers could maybe touch themselves in front of your pubic bone, creating a triangle similar to the one you are sliding on. Your arms may be held by your thighs, and maybe your wrists are just about the front of your hip joints. Let your lower abdomen breathe freely in your hands when you are gently sliding your weight on your skates bones, as if it was the beginning of a movement to stand up, going forward and coming back as balancing on your triangle of support. And please pause a moment with your belly breathing in your hands. Sense, feel, imagine these skates bones forming a kind of triangle between your 2 sits bones and the pubic symphysis. It is so fascinating to note that there is a similar triangle created by the bones of your jaw and chin, as you may see if you look on the screen. With your pelvis, you can move in all directions and interact, and with your jaw, you can also communicate, using in different ways your tongue in the space of your mouth. Our mother tongue creates different habits. You can hear. Let you breathe, feeling the floor of the chair under your pelvic floor, and maybe also the floor under your feet. And now maybe open your mouth, going forward on your pelvic floor, and close your mouth, coming back to the center. A few times. Maybe you feel your chin is going forward when opening the mouth, and your jaw is sliding forward. At the same time, you are sliding on your pelvic floor, so your throat gets space inside. There is also a magic joint there you can learn to use as singers do, so their voice can resonate and join the audience. But if for you an extra effort is needed to slide your jaw forward in the same time you're opening your mouth, don't force it. Instead, not forgetting to breathe in your lower abdomen, use both of your hands on your temples, guiding your sphenoid bone and remembering in all of your spine to go forward and come back to your center, opening and closing your mouth gently. And pay attention a moment to what you are doing with your eyes closed or maybe open. Are they going in the same direction as your pelvis? Are they going in the same direction as your head and jaw? Play a little bit with this possibility. Just observe your own way to go forward, as if you want to talk to someone in front of you and to look in this direction. Your eyes are the guide to the powerful movements of your pelvis and the freedom of your entire trunk to maintain your equilibrium and opening to the world around. And now, please, rest, open your eyes, observe the way you feel in your presence on the chair and the space around yourself. and observe how it feels when you think that moving forward with all of yourself as to interact could be the same as opening your mouth to communicate. Observe how it feels to gently close your mouth, listening to my strange accent, and to come back to your center this way. And please stand up and walk a bit if you need to do.
Okay, good.
Yes, it's done.
Wow. So, a few questions
Did
that
you get something in my English?
your English is fine.
Did you get something in my thinking?
That's where my questions come from. Yes, because you know your thinking is very original, and you know I think that the viewers will probably want to watch that a few times because there are many ideas in there that I think are uniquely yours. I don't know. I'm not a philosopher, but the beautiful connection that you're making with the triangles that you made of the self and I, and then bringing that into the triangles, the triangle of the pelvic floor, the triangle of the heel and the foot, the triangle of the jaw. Can you speak? You know, the thing I kept thinking about was, you know, the relationship between this word autopoiesis and this idea of Moshe Feldenkrais talking about we move according to our self-image.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that the triangle is a metaphor, and you know we've got these physiological triangles, but was it the physiological triangles that made you think of this whole communication triangle within the self?
Oh, it's I try to explain my intuitions. The triangle comes from linguistics. Just I, you, it.
Right,
The model linguistic system. I I talk to you, you listen to me, and we are talking about something.
right.
And generally, we are talking about myself. I think I have beautiful ideas, but all the time I'm talking about myself. Yes. So it is autopoiesis. It is we are closed system, auto-referentiel, auto-reference. The reference to everything is me, is my living system. It's me. But I cannot live alone. I'm in interaction with other closed systems. This is the beauty of life. Hmm? So this is circular, like the cell. This is the autopoiesis explanation in biology. It's based on that. The cell is a closed system, but it regulates itself, and it needs to have interactions with the other cells. Yes, and
Yes.
everybody is regulating, and so the life continues. Yes.
Yes. So
So circular is the biology, but the triangles are based in my intuition just on the model, the linguistic model.
right. And but then the circles,
Mhm,
um, you know, that you put soma and breath and
mhm,
intuition in the core, right? And a lot of people have different ideas of what intuition is.
mhm,
And so, you know, and there are people who say you can't trust your intuition. So
mhm.
are you speaking about intuition in a different way than people think of intuition normally? I mean, when you think of the connection between breath and intuition, a moment in an emotion, my breath tells me, if I'm listening, what I'm really feeling. But can you speak more about how you connect that with what people consider an intuitive response? Can you say more to
We
that?
talk of that in the other one. We will have a lot of circles in the second part of the presentation.
Okay.
Okay, so we can play with the linear thinking, dual thinking, and circular biological thinking. So it will be there. But for me, just to say it the simplest way I can, intuition is what is connected to the self. So it's the profound connection to life. So it is the place, I think, when I can connect maybe with other dimensions, but also with you. And I will explain that in the other one. But I think it is much more profound, that emotion, but we need to go through emotion to find these intuition. I think so.
Oh.
But it's all my intuition.
Well, but
Just an idea, it just makes sense to me.
That's why we're having this conversation,
Yeah.
you know, and I had this image when you were speaking about, you know, all the different triangles and in the model of verticality and mobility, and how is it possible, and this is going to be your intuition and my intuition, is it possible to be so centered in myself that when I dialogue with you, that how you move your triangles will impact my triangles, and I can understand more about me and you by being more aware of my relationship to the vertical and to the mobility of those triangles. Am I making sense?
Exactly. You're in advance with my the second part of the presentation, but it is exactly that. Because yourself now is part of myself, and myself, I'm part of yourself. You know, so the coming point is the self.
Well, so it sounds like I'd better see the next part of the presentation, or I'm going to ruin it all. So maybe.
No. Your English is far better than mine, so thank you.
Oh, no, this is great. All right, go ahead and share.
Yes? Okay, I try again. Woo!
In this second part of the presentation, we will reflect on our needs and motivations in action. Emotions express our basic needs to other people, and in an inner feedback loop, inform ourselves about those basic needs. Emotions, as universal mother tongue, communicate our needs to other people. But what about listening to other people's needs? And what do we need to do? Somatic emotional learning. Please come back to your experience on the chair. Maybe this time go forwards in front of your chair as skating on your ischiopubic ramus, walking one buttock at a time. Opening a little bit your knees to the sides may help your thighs, your femurs to go forwards this way in your hip joints. Find a way to feel you have your pelvic floor just underneath your spine. Let you breathe, feeling this support. And please gently roll on your pelvic floor with the intention to create a circular movement on the chair. For those who are familiar with the Feldenkrais method, references to clock movements are used in many lessons. This circular movement is based on our functional structure and on our basic biological thinking. Pause a moment and gently imagine 12 o'clock backwards under your sacrum and 6 o'clock forwards, where we were going balancing on the triangle of our rocking bones in the first part of the presentation. between 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock is the center of your clock. Maybe you can imagine a plumb line along your spine relating your head to the center of your pelvis on the chair. And now, please gently roll, slide your weight to right and to the left of your center as from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock on your skates bones, a little bit in front of each of your ischions. Those are reference points to help you create a circular movement around your triangle of support. The circular movement we are exploring now is functional and depends a lot on our habits, including emotional patterns more available right now. Maybe some directions feel more familiar and others may seem impossible. Don't force anything, just observe. The movement is happening not just in your pelvis, it is created in all of yourself, in your eyes, your head, your spine, your chest bone, your thoracic cage, each of your ribs, and your habitual ways to relate to yourself and to other people. Explore a moment doing a quarter of a circle between 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock a few times. And then another quarter of a circle between 12 o'clock and 9 o'clock. Feel the difference, maybe. And explore a few times going from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock in a half of a circle using 12 o'clock as a turning point. Be sure to continue to breathe. If needed, have your lower belly into the palms of your hands to remind breathing easily while moving. And pause a moment. Feel again the support of the chair and the support of your breathing. And come back to the central axis of this circle and slide gently forwards towards 6 o'clock. Explore a moment doing a quarter of a circle between 6 o'clock and 3 o'clock a few times. And then another quarter of a circle between 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock. And again, feel the difference. And this time trace a half of a circle from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock using 6 o'clock as a turning point. Be sure to continue to breathe. If needed, have your lower belly into the palms of your hands to remind breathing easily while moving. And pause a moment. Feel again the support of the chair, the support of your breathing. And again, gently roll on your pelvic floor as around the clock. Does it feel different from the beginning of the lesson? Observe your preferences. Are you going more easily clockwise or counterclockwise? Try both. Compare. Is more of yourself included moving around your axis? Please pause and rest. Look now at this circular model. It tries to represent the soma and awareness through movement within the body-mind experience to help us remind our circular organic thinking and our biological knowledge. We have compared previously emotion to a functional language between autopoietic systems, similar to the function of our skin, related to our survival and in the same time to our organic learning. In dual and linear models, we often try to understand why intention and action are so often opposite, if not disconnected one from another. And we try desperately to connect them through a linear concept of time, created by the human brain, the past and the future. Intention stays related to the mind and to the brain, and action to the body and the nervous system. In a body-mind split, there is a long-term history trying to learn to do what you want and know what you are doing, and trying to integrate bodily things we have differentiated in our mind. In a body-mind split, intention often stays in the stories, elaborated in our mind, building a more and more forgotten identity, while our body is doing something else, repeating compulsively familiar realizations and habits. In this case, I think I am the picture of my selfie. This is me. For my ego, my body may become dissociated from myself, an object I try to train, to build and master, as an outer machine to be fixed. Does it sound familiar to you? This is dual thinking, due to the body-mind split. In that case, emotions cannot do their jobs within ourselves and in our relationships. They are trapped and static in a functional split process, related more or less to the mind, more or less to the body, and never felt and lived for what they actually are. The fact is, they are closely related to the soma and to our learning dynamic process, to self-regulation and to choice-making. So, if we really want to learn how to become aware through movement, we develop our attention into the present, inner observation, in balancing fluently from narrow to open focused concentration, from exploration to selection, and we switch paradigms from a dual and linear thinking to a 3D organic one. We come back and give value to our original organic learning process through perceptions, strange experiences, and growing transformation of ourself. In the first part of the presentation, I've talked about enunciation, the active part in a dialogue, the one each of us knows. I need you, but in the same time you keep all of your mystery. What about listening to you? Obviously, I will never be in your own skin, in anybody else's skin. But through my somatic emotional experience of learning, I can remember sympathy as being in resonance with you by mirroring. And I may learn to really listen to you now that I know from within how different you are from myself. What kind of a character are you? There are so many ways to become more aware of the stories and characters who are ever present in ourselves. We don't have to become a professional actor to observe that. Just remember your experience of rocking on your pelvic floor, both in the first and the second part of the presentation. Was your head going in the same direction as your pelvis? Maybe you felt you were using your lower back to go forward, or maybe your neck and shoulders. Thinking through habits, this was needed to go forwards. Or maybe you were sure that you have to use your powerful abdominal muscles to roll back, or maybe to decompress in your spine. These are all components of emotional patterns included in your habits. And what about this option to use your buttocks to walk on the chair? Maybe you felt you were rounding your back backwards, thinking it would help you going forwards. Or maybe it felt difficult to open your jaw as to talk and sing. But maybe it was easy for you to slide your chin forward, but you noticed you were clenching your teeth in the same time. Maybe all of these options make you feel as a stranger, another person, living another story than yours. And maybe, yes, it is. Actors are creating characters, playing with all of these possibilities and so much more all the time. What kind of a character are you? How many stories are you telling to yourself? How many embodied roles and relationships were you playing with? Gently moving, rolling on your chair. Through each of your explorations, past stories may be modified, and also your future and your destiny. Who are you? Who are them? Further than sympathy, I can learn empathy as being in resonance with your own self through my own self. Becoming gradually responsible of listening to my own needs as an individual, I can learn to listen to us and to become responsible of our collective ecosystem, responsible of ourselves. A lot of this is related to my potent self, my neutrality and mobility developed by my inner observer. Listening to you, to us, I can switch place with you as an actor at any moment if you need help, because I have learned to feel yourself, herself, himself, ourselves as myself. What did we need to know in the past? What do we need to learn now as members of the human species, as part of an ecosomatic world? The main problem for human beings, now more than ever, is to confuse intention with emotion, and to have difficulty to use clearly both of them in harmony. As Moshe said, cross-motivation comes when the intention is confused, when the emotion, which is functional, the motivation, is not supporting the action we are doing. Cross-motivation in action appear most of the time with mixed emotions and profound entanglements in the use of these mixed emotions. Some are common to many people, and others are very individual. Habits of moving and learning with anger, fear, or sadness may appear during the process of a Feldenkrais lesson. In each lesson, we are reminded again and again to use our basic needs of love, tenderness, and joy to learn healthy ways to move. Because Moshe knew these emotions sustained the learning process. But if anger, fear, and sadness suddenly appear through habits of moving, sensing, thinking, we have to remember they are essential parts of our survival organic kit. And we may ask ourselves if these emotions help us move better, feel better now. These emotions are so often identified as negative. But the problem is, our societies value them a lot. Maybe it is why people fear so much their emotions. Since our childhood, we have learned and used mixed emotions, mixed motivations and intentions so much that we may have difficulties to know what we are actually feeling. Emotions are not the words we use to point to the functional patterns in emotional body. A lot of cross motivations emerge from emotions about the words themselves. So we use numbers. The words used in those circles are as primary colors. Our life experiences are refined paintings, including lots of nuances and gifted mixes, supporting so much different intentions and projects. But we need to learn again basic references to stay in harmony with clear motivations. If we remind what basic interactions are needed for survival, it is crucial to recognize that breathing in the lower abdomen is the universal key to connect to any basic emotion in a relationship, except pattern 2B, fear. This 2B pattern is an emergency alert system felt from within. It appears clearly to make us stop on the spot and change direction and pattern, to change the situation and modify our relationships. Low 2B may appear in a situation of danger. In that case, we need to learn how to quickly switch pattern and continue to breathe fully. It is not the same as being alert and dynamic. We may need to learn to go forwards, to convince and fight for a project. Learning to use a low-intensity 1B anger without mixing it with 2B may help us to stay focused and to perform. Otherwise, it may seem impossible sometimes to go ahead. We may need to learn to regulate ourselves as individuals when we need to let go of a project or a relationship using low 3B sadness decompression, like falling down in the arms of Mother Earth. We maybe need to learn through 3A joy to regulate ourselves together, being under too much pressure, by jumping all over the place. But we need to know how to stay aware of not mixing this pattern with 3B or 2B or even 1B without knowing what we are actually doing. We may need to remind and value the powerful strength of 1A tender love, offering true support all around us, turning around our vertical axis in side bending. We may need to rediscover 2A sensual love, undulating movements of the spine in any creative mode to make one with nature in moments of fusion and intimate relationships. The more we stay around the point of neutrality and connected to our inner self, the more we develop the ability to use our potent self in different ways and fulfill our needs and our dreams.
I don't even know where to begin with my questions, but I think that I'm going to start with the end because we only have a few minutes left. And I think that, you know, you finished with this quote: health is the ability to realize our avowed and unavowed dreams. And to me, that quote is absolutely related to what you were talking about in terms of intention and action and past and future and all of that. So maybe you can give us just a hint of how I can access this understanding, a better understanding of the breath, because again, you've made the breath a key in this, in talking about the importance of the diaphragmatic breath and the different breathing patterns in these different emotions in the circle, and how that can connect with me being able to realize my dreams.
As I said, the thing that is common to all the basic emotions, except to be, is low. Yes, it's this kind of full abdominal breathing. So I think this is the simple answer I can give. If people learn, remember how to breathe fully there, you're near the neutrality and you can switch to any direction you need, any emotion, any direction, any project, and you have less possibility to go against yourself. Let your past and the trauma and all stories we all had come against this need we have to live and to go our own way. And for me, this is what is so beautiful with the Feldenkrais method and emotional body. It helps a lot because it's so precise about different breathings. I didn't speak about that, just the main thing to join together intention and emotion, because they have to go together. So much people have so much intentions and project and they don't do it. They don't need or to do it. We have to need to do something. This is for me the dream. If I have the need, I have the drive, I will go for it. Using all the emotions I need to realize my dreams. And it's just me who can know what dreams are mine. And I don't have to impose my dreams on anybody else. Maybe share, maybe have a dream together. It's what we are doing here, no?
We are. And when you were speaking about this ability, the ability to come back to the diaphragmatic breath so that I have a choice of where I want to go, what emotion I want to choose, reminded me of Feldenkrais's definition of acture. Instead of posture, that I have this ability to be able to move in any direction from any position. It's the same thing, isn't it, with my emotions? If I have this ability to regulate my breath, then I can regulate my emotions and make a choice that's congruent with my intention.
Oh, beautifully. Exactly
Well,
that.
I'm just rephrasing what you said, but
Yes.
in the process, I'm learning more about how to speak about it, because I think many of us have, again, going back to intuition, we have an intuition of this, but to actually understand it. And again, I hope that the viewers come back and look at all of your circles, and we're almost out of time, but I just want to do a shout out for you to maybe explain where those numbers come from, so that people might be able to be curious and follow up a little bit, where the numbers come for those emotions that you labeled.
Yes, it comes from emotional body. So what Laura Bound has created as a method. So it comes from there. It's not my invention. It comes from Laura Bound.
Right. And each of those numbers has to do with a different way of breathing, whether it's through the
Yes.
nose or through the mouth, or so
Yes.
it becomes very, very interesting to look at those in their relationships to whether I'm inhaling or exhaling in different parts of myself.
These
And
are
so,
really patterns. I'm not speaking about the patterns now. I don't have.
no, I know, but people might be curious.
Yes,
You know,
exactly. It's very, very interesting and very powerful.
right. Well, so Odette, do you have anything that you want to say in conclusion?
I would say thank you, Lavinia. Thank you, Arlene, and thank you, Cynthia. I hope this presentation, I did the best I could, but I hope it will help maybe some people, and this is it.
Well, and thank you. I mean, you made my job very easy because you did all the work in advance. And I know that it was because you were afraid of your language, but I think you did an incredible job. So thank you for sharing all this and for a really powerful presentation. And hopefully we've all learned something, and we'll continue to learn through your work.
Thank you, Lavinia.